Welcome food fans, picky eaters, the flavor curious, and everyone in between. Nothing makes good food better than good conversation, and your table is ready. Welcome back to another episode of the Food for Thoughtcast with your hosts, Melissa Reagan and Steven Gonzalez, but you can call them Chef. All right, let's get this episode started.
Hey there, food fans. Welcome back to the Food for Thoughtcast with me, your host, Melissa Reagan, and my co-host with the most, Chef Steven Gonzalez. What's going on, Steve?
Hey, buddy. How are you?
Oh, I'm fantastic. I'm so excited. We have a guest joining us today. This is Dennis Turcinovic from Delmonico's and Tucci and Boogie Lab USA. We're so excited to have you here. How are you today, Dennis?
Hey, Melissa. Hey, Steve. How are you? I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Fantastic. Fantastic. Yeah.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, we've mentioned it on previous episodes, and we were just talking to Dennis before we started recording that, restaurant chef, restaurateur, any section of the hospitality business is going to have crazy schedules. So the stars had to line up just right for us to get Dennis on and vice versa. But we're so glad that you're here. How's your week been, bud? You've been jet setting, I think.
Yes, actually, I've been traveling quite a bit. Definitely looking to, obviously expand the hospitality industry across the U.S. So I've been jet setting across America.
Nice.
So where are you now?
I'm actually in Syosset. I do have a newborn that's about 4 weeks old.
Oh,
So
congrats.
I thank you so much. I am playing daddy right now. While I'm working, enjoying it all. I'm so grateful for everything that I have going on in my life. But yes, I'm between the restaurants, traveling. I actually have a home in New York City. I have a home out in Long Island, and so I tend to move fairly quickly. So we're always on the go.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I think the hospitality business is insane. I feel like it's feast or famine. It's always 90 miles an hour or nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then when you're younger, you really hate the nothing times because I think we're always go, go, go. And we have busy brains and busy hands and like you have to be doing something. And then I think the older that you get, you're like, oh my God, is this a nothing time? This is amazing.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah. I can just catch my breath a little bit, right?
You definitely get to enjoy and appreciate that downtime. So.
Yeah.
You do, like especially when I was younger, growing up in the business, being on the floor at Delmonico's and really managing the business there on a day to day, it was a struggle, but 10, 12-hour days, 6 days a week, and then trying to come home and being a father or a good partner and trying to have a life, and it's never enough. It's consistently moving and you're medicating yourself, I would say with a little bit of alcohol here and there. So, but now we're, as time goes on, you learn so much. You get to you get to do better as you grow older in this business and be more flexible with your time.
Yeah. I think you start finding that balance and then you start figuring out like, I don't have to fill every waking moment with something for work. And then eventually you get the right people and then the work takes care of itself when you're not there. And then it becomes like less scary and less scary and less scary, So.
That's true.
So Delmonico's, it sounds like a lot of amazing things come out of there, right? But speaking of amazing things, we always have to start our show with one question. What was the most amazing thing you've had to eat this week? You like how I tied that in? I tried to. I was thinking about it,
You know what? I ate at Ocean's Restaurant on Park and I believe 21st Street.
Nice.
And everything I ate there was absolutely amazing, but I did truly enjoy their black cod, and it was an amazing dish. It's an amazing restaurant and one of my favorites in the city.
Nice. How was that prepared?
It was like a miso, very simple miso black hot, their own style with some beautiful bok choy and some vegetables, and it was just like perfect. I don't know if it was the timing, the time, the space, the energy where I was. I was with my young son, my middle son Nico, and we were really enjoying ourselves. And I was like, wow, this is a really, it's my first time there. It's a really solid restaurant.
I love that so much. And sometimes it's just like those simple preparations that are really the best.
Correct. Yes.
For
Yeah.
sure. For
What about
sure.
you, Melissa?
Steve? Oh, yeah. Put me in the hot seat. I'll do it. Yesterday I made Japanese curry with beef, sweet potatoes. What else did I put in there? It's kind of like using up some leftovers. Um, Beef, sweet potatoes, onions, mushrooms, a little edamame, and carrots. And it just a standard, like the grocery store kind of really simple curry, but that's what I wanted. It's been like cold, but also sunny here in North Carolina. And I wanted something that wasn't super heavy like a stew, but kind of warm, you know?
Yeah.
And I crushed it. Oh my God, it was so good. I put a Serrano chili in it for good measure and some hot sauce, and it was banging. I had it with basmati rice. So kind of just a intercultural, all the things, you know? So
Right.
It does sound
yeah,
yummy.
it was
So
awesome.
when you do your serrano pepper, do you char it? Do you just eat it raw as is? Do you do anything?
I sauteed it with the vegetables. Like I browned sirloin and took that out, hit all the vegetables in there. I just sauteed it with
Yeah.
all the vegetables, but I left all the ribs and seeds in. Like I know the seeds don't make it hot, but I left everything in there. But especially the ribs. And I looked for the one at the store, like I give the old like cracked it open like smell test just to see if it was spicy, because sometimes you get one that's a dud, and I wanted to sweat.
Yeah.
So
I don't know why. I just always have to char my peppers anytime. They're 10 times better to me, you know?
yeah. What about you, Steve?
So this past weekend, I went to South Texas to go cater one of my cousin's weddings. And on the way down, we stopped in San Antonio, and I got to go eat at my favorite restaurant, Pacific Moon. It's like a little bar and grill, right? It's like Asian American fusion, all, you know. And I always get like their Mongolian burger, and the way that they prepare it's just out of this world. But when we were taking or when the server was taking our orders, she said, "We have the best sesame chicken in San Antonio." So I had to try it, and I have to admit, it was really good. You know, it was very well balanced. You know, you get a lot of that sweet, savory, that sesame, a little bit of brightness from, from everything they put together. It was just very well balanced, and it was good, real good.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Nice. Now you know where you got to go the next time you're here.
Yeah. I always just say if you can go back to that dish a few more times, and then when you leave saying I want to have that dish again, that leaves a mark in the mind, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a restaurants in my travel history where I'm like, they're like, have you tried anything else there? I'm like, no, that's it. It's not broke.
Yeah.
Don't fix it.
Exactly. I like that.
That's
Yes.
that's the one that keeps me coming back.
We used to do that at Delmonico's. We used to, years ago, we used to put out these specials, and sometimes they were so popular, they would last for, just use an example, like we had a baked Alaska we done with bourbon cream from Do Good Spirits. It's called Beaver Kill Bourbon Cream in Roscoe, New York, which is an amazing bourbon cream, and we produced a killer bourbon cream baked Alaska. And we ran it as a special, we kept it on for a while. The next thing you know, we had it on for like 2 or 3 months. And then, as the season changes, you don't want to serve, a bourbon cream baked Alaska in the spring. It was chaos. It was complete chaos. People were like, what's going on? Like, where is it? And the problem is after that, it was like, we really didn't bring it back. And then COVID happened. And I'm looking to bring that back this year. We were going to, but that's a dish that's always sitting in my mind.
I'm an agent of chaos. I feel like something like that would be timeless enough where it'd be like the middle finger to everybody else, right? Like, screw you, we're going to serve this all year.
Exactly.
Like, when you find a heavy hitter.
Correct. Yeah.
That sounds amazing. That sounds delicious.
Very.
Yeah. Well, hey, Dennis, I want to know, we really want to hear the story. I know that you started at the age of 7. That's about the time I decided I wanted to be a chef. It seems like 7's kind of a magic number in a bunch of people's lives. It seems to be fairly formative, but I was reading that you got involved in every, part of the restaurant. And I kind of want to know, like, the whole story. Take us back to the beginning.
Yeah, so my parents are migrants from Croatia. They came in the mid 70s. Both parents were in the industry. My mother was a cook. My father was front of house, but also a cook as well. They were from Istria, which is a part in Croatia, on the northern part of Croatia that borders Slovenia and has very close to Italy there. They're about a couple hour drive to Venice. And they came here to the States, and my father, and obviously hospitality industry, they knew how to cook. They are foodies from where they came from, so they came here and they started working in the industry. And my father used to take me to work as a kid when he first started with one of his first restaurant called Murano, which was on 36th Street and Broadway, and I was maybe 6 years old. So um, hanging on to my dad and his business partner and just going to work with them every weekend and just hanging out with them, you kind of start to get it. And they made you work. I wasn't that kid that, ran around and was allowed to play. No, they were
You're
here.
like
They had no money.
sitting by the
They,
cash register
Yeah.
being cute.
it,
Like,
it was it was always a struggle, and it was always the hard way.
yeah.
Um, we call the Slavic code is to suffer, right? So we're suffering. So whatever we do, it's hard work. We wash those floors with your hands and down your knees, and everything has to be clean and spotless and look pretty. So kind of grew up in that environment, and we were always around food, family gatherings, and I was lucky enough to really get the experience from my family business that led to the empire I have today.
Wow.
That's incredible. And this is the
Mm.
oldest don't let me say this wrong. This is the oldest continuously operated restaurant, or
Yes, so it's the first restaurant in America.
okay,
Delmonico's was founded in 1837 by two Swiss brothers. They actually migrated here
amazing.
in 1827 and started with a small bonbon shop cafe down the block from Delmonico's, and then what is now America's first restaurant at 56 Beaver Street in the same location there. They built this beautiful building. It's an icon in Manhattan. And they were the first of first. The term restaurant that they brought here when they came from Europe is something that was coined here in the States for other restaurants that were
Yeah.
Delmonico's, obviously.
Mhm.
And so, they became so popular that at a certain point when people were saying, let's go to a Delmonico's, didn't really mean that it was that restaurant. It could have been any restaurant out there. So they really coined that term. And it
Wow.
started with the tablecloths, printed menus. They were printing their own money at one point. They had first to employ females and first to have women
Wow.
congregate, and then have the first ladies luncheon, which we'll be celebrating this month and next month. Um, and there's so many firsts: baked Alaska, lobster Newburgh,
Yeah.
Delmonico steak, New York strip, which
Eggs
was in the news
Benedict,
lately.
right?
Eggs Benedict.
Yep.
You have chicken a la king after the horse breeder. So a lot of rich history that in and out of Delmonico's. It really was the culinary center of
It's
everything that's been happening in the city for a long time.
everything was like a pub or a cafe before that, right? So kind of that
Correct. Tavern.
concept
You
of
had
like,
Fonz's Tavern down the
yeah.
block, but we really
Yep.
were the first for a la carte dining. We set the table, we would say. And then you had the Delmonico's family for so many years, and the following was the Tucci family. So the three longest lasting families there were the Delmonico's family, which was, I would say, the first 80, 90 years, the Tucci family, which was another 60, and then myself, my family came in, which is about 26 years or 25 years now. So
That is
Wow.
amazing. Wow.
yeah.
So are you trying to preserve history, like with your menus and things like that? Or, I mean, I know there's balance of like, preserving history, but also, paving, in the right direction in the future. Like, what are some of the things that you try to do there at the restaurant?
So we have an amazing Chef Eddie
Mhm.
Eddie Hung. Eddie worked at some of the best restaurants in the city, the Clock Tower, Brooklyn Fair. So he's had so much experience, and what he does at the restaurant is absolutely amazing. We really have um, a solid culinary team, and we put out a really solid product. Um, what we try to do is we can't actually do you can try to duplicate what was made in the past. We get pretty
Mhm.
close, like with our baked Alaska, but
Sure.
we really focus on taking some of the ingredients out from the Epicurean and really working with some of the techniques and stuff to create some of the dishes.
Uh-huh.
So we'll always run some specials and do some really cool stuff. So the idea here is that Delmonico's is always evolving, right, in
Right.
culinary history. So we're always
Mhm.
trying to be, different, unique. We have a really cool crab cake that we wrap in potato string, which is really interesting, done with some
Oh,
nice
wow.
Yeah.
tartar and some parsley powder.
Like little bird's
Um,
nest. little
Yeah,
shoestrings.
really, really.
Yeah.
It's just
God,
we
I
have an
love
amazing
that.
we have an amazing Caesar salad. We have chefs, Michelin star chefs that come in to taste our Caesar salad. It really is a very popular dish, done with some myang rung roe, and you have it's like
Mhm.
it's a bit dry, but it's perfection, I would say.
Mhm.
We've been told by many. So we really, we take every dish and we really care for
Mhm.
each dish that we put out, and we do an amazing job there. So it's all about the food, and then at the end, the other spectrum, you have the hospitality, and we blend it
Yeah,
together. I
Yeah.
bring my
absolutely.
family, and we're known for is all about hospitality, and let the kitchen do their thing. And I oversee both sides, and I love to eat food, and if the food is not good, I'm not happy. So I'm pretty happy with what we have going on there, both Delmonico's and Tucci.
It's the amazing experience is what keeps people coming back, right? So whenever you travel anywhere, if you're visiting friends across the country, you go like, where should we go? And they'll go like, well, you have this dive bar up the street, like the food isn't that great, but you'll have an amazing time. And then you have the
Correct.
flip
Yeah.
side of that is like, the food is really amazing at this one place, but we can't ever get a table. And when you find a place that can seamlessly integrate both things, like the food is incredible and you're going to feel amazing, is like really when you've got it right.
Absolutely.
So I mean, I want to go back just to Murano for just a minute. What kind of restaurant was that?
So, my dad and his partner started with basic Italian, Northern Italian cuisine
Hmm.
restaurants. It's something that they had the inspiration from where they were from. So, Istria was ruled by Italy at one point,
Got
and
it.
specifically Northern Italy. So, they had Murano. So, they pretty much opened restaurants in the Garment district, and they still have
Got it.
one that's been there since 1983 or 84, which is called Arno, Arno. Always
Okay.
busy, no matter what, and it's just has solid Italian food. And they pretty much were really focused in the garment district. They knew everybody, all the people that were selling clothes, that were doing all the shows, and they became very well known for really having not only really good food, but really providing great hospitality. And I
And
got to
so
meet so many people in the clothing industry, and there's just such amazing people there. So, and
for
I still till today, till today, it's like, hey Dennis, I remember you as a
oh,
kid. Everybody,
fun.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
For a yokel like myself who's been to New York exactly one time, can you explain to
Okay.
me where the garment district is? Is that just a certain number, like a certain number to a certain number street, that area?
Yeah, so it is. I would say you have the Button District, you have the Garden District. So I would say from Madison Square Garden, from let's
Sure.
say Eighth Avenue, that would be more Button District, which goes up to about 39 40th Street and
Okay.
about uh, Broadway and Sixth Avenue. So it's
Okay.
that
Got
one
it.
area there. I
Okay.
would say 5 6 blocks, 2 avenues wide. And if you look at those buildings there, they were actually producing garments there when manufacturing was very popular
Right.
Mhm.
back in the day,
And
as they
then
would say, the
that's like
schmatza business.
kind of like Fashion Avenue runs through there now,
Correct.
right?
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I've been
And
one time, but it's seared into my memory. I'm just like, oh, so cool. So
yeah,
it's just like seared in there. I was
Yeah.
wondering
yeah.
if there. Well, I had a dual questions about this, right? First of all, was there any Croatian culinary influence that came through? Are there any nods to that anywhere? So has ever been a desire to kind of bring that in?
We are working on doing a Croatian themed restaurant in New York City. It's going to take some
Okay.
time. We want to
Nice.
do it right. So we will bring, we're talking to a chef in Croatia. I'm in Croatia quite often with Boogie Lab, my sourdough bread company.
Yeah.
So I'm back and forth, but that's definitely in the plans in the near future. I would say in the next couple of years or so, we'll
Oh,
be
that's
putting that out.
amazing. Well, then the other part of that
Um,
question was going to be like, did you have a choice? Were they like, this is the family business, you're going to do it? Or you were like, you saw them doing it and you wanted to do what they were doing?
it's fun. Money was there, it was coming in. It's an
Sure.
opportunity. Um, I'm a personable guy. I like to talk to people. I like to, I love to socialize. So
Hmm.
for me, that was a part of the business, and you can make money. And I always believe that food and drink always bring people together. Still,
Mhm.
obviously, till
Yeah.
Yeah.
today, and that was so
Yeah.
beautiful for me to see. So I really do enjoy it, and and as time went on, I experienced that I liked other things as well, other businesses. So I invested in different places and do some other fun
Nice.
stuff on the side. But my core is really hospitality, and that's what I love to do.
Like you
So let
certainly
me
got to
ask.
love people to do it.
Yeah.
So
Now,
It's a tough job,
obviously,
but it's
hospitality.
fun.
yeah,
I was gonna say, so hospitality is a big thing for you. People who go work for you, they clearly understand the business. They understand hospitality. Do you ever get someone green who just, they think they have an idea of what hospitality is, and like, do you work with them, or have you ever had those instances?
So all the time, when people work for our company, if you want to be in the transaction business to make some money and to just move on from one phase of your life to another, then take a job somewhere where you have the transaction, where it's that quick move. When we hire people, we want hospitality. We want you to love your job and enjoy what you do, because
Right.
that all works. So I really respect and love all the employees that work for my company. I literally shake
Mhm.
everyone's hand, and I'm always like, "How are you?" I treat them like I would treat my family,
Yeah.
and that keeps our business growing. And I do have a lot of people that approach me. They're like, I'm going to open restaurants. I'm going to do this. I mean, good luck. You give it a shot. But if you don't have that mentality, and I've seen it fail. I consult for restaurants. I consult for some owners. I help them out. And they're in dire need. Like, Dennis, they call me in a panic. They're like, what am I going to do here? And I'm like, don't ever get involved in restaurant business. Slim margins, chaos. If you don't
Yeah.
love it, don't get involved in it.
and there's no harder
But
place to
yeah.
open one than in New York.
And
Yeah.
exactly. I mean,
Right.
yes, you made money in the past. That's when you made the money. Today, it's quite tough to really make it in this business, but we make it happen
Yeah.
somehow, and we really
Yeah.
enjoy what we do. So it's a labor of
Yeah.
love.
Yeah. I mean, I've noticed that, like, I was brought up in hotels, and hospitality is a big thing. So when I moved on to my current job, it was the same thing. You treat people the way you want to be treated. You want to make sure that they want to come back to see you, things like that. And for me growing up, I thought everyone's got to be like this. I've learned that no, it's not. So, it blows my mind when you come across people who think, "Oh yeah, I know how to treat people." And then you see like their customer service, things like that, and it's just not what you would expect. So, yeah.
Correct. And when you're traveling, it's quite interesting. We travel to a few different states looking for different locations, or partner to different businesses, or expand with different brands. And you have to understand that if you don't put the proper people in place in the beginning
Mhm.
to teach or bring in other folks that want to really, do the proper job because they love what they do, it's very hard to open a restaurant outside of where you have the control, right?
Yeah.
So I would say, like,
Yeah.
I just came back I was just in St. Louis, Missouri. Beautiful, beautiful city.
Mhm.
And we're looking at a project there, and you know, um, there are people that I met there that really love the business, and I met people there that are very transactional, and some people are even forced into it. And I always say to myself, you can't fake it in this business. People feel it. They
Yeah.
feel when you're faking it. If you won't succeed if you have to fake it, you just be miserable. So I always tell people, if you want to be in this business, you have to really love it. Let yourself go. No, they love, customers, and when you have a customer sitting in your restaurant, you have that person there for, a couple of hours. They really want your energy. You feed
Mhm.
off of one another.
Right.
And if that energy is not spot on, or if you're not feeling it, or if it's something that you're aggravated with
Yeah.
because you just hate being at your job, it's never going to work. And
Yeah.
everybody experiences that in the business.
And it's the same thing in the kitchen too. If somebody doesn't want to be there, it's going to come through in the food because they're just not going to
Yeah.
give it their all. They're going to try their hardest,
Correct.
and the vibe check's hard, and especially like I'm a millennial, and the generations behind me really thrive on that. Like if something doesn't pass the smell test, they're out, right? And
Yeah.
Mhm.
it used to be where you could assume a certain level of I could call it customer service, but I hate that term, and I don't think you can assume that anymore because a lot of people aren't doing it well and don't know what they're doing. And I think when you find the places that do, there's kind of an unwritten like, I want you to want to be here, and I want you to want me to be here,
Of course.
And
Of
you can definitely
course.
tell when somebody doesn't. I would even go
Absolutely.
so far as to say like you have to know how to turn it on and off if you're an introvert, like so.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah,
And
100%.
there could be, in the restaurant business, there's different positions for different, uh, people. Like, some, I've worked in the kitchen in the past, and I've worked with an amazing team in the kitchen. The energy is amazing, and you know, you vibe off one another. And if you're the person that's causing the trouble, you're you're not going to survive. Like it's tough back there, you know.
Mhm.
And same like for the front of house, but sometimes I have people that have been working in the front of house that actually belong in the back of house. Like their love, was cooking. It wasn't serving. So like we see some people move back into the kitchen or back to the front of house. It's really
Yep.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And quality of life. Like I I I would not want to come to work and see people that are unhappy with the restaurant. I always want to make sure that everyone's happy. It helps them, myself, and the business at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. You want to create that kind of feeling where people, want to be there, where it's like a high demand, and you keep that hype going. And you know, we,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
we hear the stories, right? The older stories of the restaurants that first started out in New York, where they would seat everybody toward the front and they'd put a partition so it looked like the restaurant was always full, and they'd be like, "Oh my God, it's full! You can't get a table," and it like create all this, would drive all this demand, right?
Right.
Not only consumers are a little bit too smart for that now, but it doesn't mean that you can't create the demand in other ways, which is just like making it an amazing place to be. You know, and it
You know, I,
comes it
I
comes organically.
absolutely. I always
Uh,
think about, if you look at Delmonico's chef Charles Renhofer, which was the first celebrity chef in the city that wrote the Epicurean, right, and created these
mhm.
famous dishes. And I've been in this business since I was a kid, so I back in the day, I get to meet a lot of different owners and chefs growing
Mhm.
up. They were the most
Yeah.
meanest human beings ever, right? And
Yep.
you weren't allowed to, like, no mistakes, zero mistakes, or you get some kind of a beating. This is the
Yeah.
truth. And whether it's verbal, physical, pots, pans get thrown. I've seen so much, and I'm like, it's unbelievable. So I'm so happy that it got to where it is today because it's actually, it's a different place.
What do you
But
think?
Yeah.
back in the day, can you imagine in 18,
Uh-huh.
72,
Uh-huh.
you get killed?
Well, you had
You're
like, not only did you not have any labor protections, but
nothing,
a
nothing.
hostile
Yeah.
environment wasn't a
Extremely
thing that
hostile.
existed.
Yeah.
Like the awareness of that, HR departments in general, right? Like none of that even existed. And then what do you think was responsible for the change in that culture? Like I personally think COVID had a little bit to do with it, but what do you think is responsible for that? Kind of that shift.
Um, the shift recently, or
Mm,
I think the shift has
yeah.
been, it's just people don't want to be mistreated. You have to respect
Right.
everyone.
Mhm.
We're all, I always say we're all connected to one another in so many different
Hmm.
ways. Like,
Yep.
we're on this earth
And
together,
Yeah.
so
we need each other,
Well, might might as well be happy while you're
you
on it,
Yeah.
you
know
know?
somebody, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's I can't imagine that it wouldn't end up to be like this because any other way it would be complete chaos. Even with the customers, and I can imagine how they treated there's a story of it's an amazing story of how Lobster Newberg came to fame. Well, this is the Herd story, we say, right? Ben Wenberg, wealthy
Right.
sea captain, comes off his ship. Remember, Delmonico's is literally on the water, a block and a half away. So all the ships
Yeah.
would pull up, all the sailors would come. They would bring all these ingredients from overseas, and they say, "Cook with this, try this. Apricots for the baked Alaska, walnuts, bananas, whether it's
Mhm.
from South America, whether it's from Europe, and obviously alcohol, big one, right?" So Ben Wenberg, wealthy sea captain, apparently he loved to drink, brought some brandy, cayenne pepper, cream, and Chef Charles Renhofer created this amazing dish called the lobster Newburg.
Right.
And
Right.
as time went on, Ben Wenberg would come in and he would eat, and it'd be feast or famine. And there was a point where he did come in, and he was a little bit disappointed in the dish, and obviously maybe he was drinking too much. So they got into an argument between Chef Charles Renhofer and Ben Wenberg, and took the dish off the menu, caused
Yeah.
chaos because people love that dish.
Yeah.
Right.
And obviously
Beloved.
that's where lobsters became famous. Everything started really at Delmonico's first because it was the first place to have the
Mhm.
ingredients and have the opportunity to create those
Right.
dishes.
Right.
And it was such an uproar. The dish did come back up on the menu, but it came up as lobster Newberg instead of lobster Wenberg.
Right. Right.
So there's, that
This
just tells
is
the
a
little
new
story of
word.
the chaos.
Does it
Yeah.
does it feel sometimes like both a burden and an honor to carry all of that legacy of this concept and this building, this restaurant? Like, how does that? It just seems
It,
overwhelming to me.
it's tough, like you have these, we do, let's go back to talking about the dishes, how you mentioned before. We created a chicken a la king that is an amazing vegan dish that
Ah,
you can add the chicken on it, created by
Hmm.
Natalie Perhat, which is an amazing chef that's on our team. She's a vegan chef from Toronto, from Canada,
Oh wow,
awesome.
I like that.
and she consults on some vegan dishes for us, and it's an amazing dish. And we took a dish that's kind of boring. You got peas, mushrooms,
Mhm.
peppers, and
Yeah,
with pasta and pieces of chicken, that probably started some type of a trend of chicken and pasta in America. I would say,
yeah,
right? And so
yeah.
we took this dish, and we really created something so unique and pretty, where we use some beautiful lion's manes mushrooms, and she creates a sauce that's made of. The dish is so perfect in the way she
Yeah.
creates it. Um, and we use the same type of ingredients. They're subtle, they're pretty tasty. And I would say it's a 10 on our menu. It's out of a 1 out of 10,
Wow.
that's a 10, and we execute it really well. So, and we can appease to the vegans and to people that want to eat it with the chicken or eat the dish, and it
I
sells
think
very
Yeah,
well.
that's
I'm
definitely
And
very.
so
your like. Go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, and
I'm
the
very
same thing with
opinionated,
that. Yeah. Yeah.
but like I love how like vegan cuisine has just really been revolutionized or really been brought to like the limelight, and it's not just boiled vegetables. You know what I'm saying? I really love that people take the time to really, recreate a classic dish, and it's all vegan, and it's amazing. I love that.
Yeah.
And,
I was just going to
and
say, I
people,
think this is like the modern time kind of reaching back into antiquity, right? Like pulling
Yeah,
those classic dishes up
right.
to like, I think that's super bold and also extremely smart, right? To have a plant-based
hmm,
dish of that
Yeah,
caliber,
and and
you know?
and what's really interesting? It's cooking vegan is extremely complicated. I don't,
yeah,
Hmm.
even you have Michelin star chefs that actually have consulting chefs that help them cook vegan dishes, right?
Right. Right.
And it's so amazing that when I serve this dish to somebody that would be like, "Oh, it's vegan," right away you tell somebody it's a vegan dish, they're like, "I'm out." They're kind of
yeah.
against it. I'm like,
Hmm.
"Are you okay? Like, slow down."
20 years ago, that's
So
what people would say. Yeah,
So I would give them the chicken a la king, and I'd give it to them with the chicken. Right? So it's a chicken, beautiful roasted chicken with the sauce, with a beautiful, like a large shelled pasta that we serve. The name can't come off my head right now. And I serve it to a few customers, like, wow, this is some of the best sauce I've ever eaten in my life. I'm like,
Wow.
it's vegan. And they're like, no, it's impossible. It's not vegan. It can't be. I'm like, yes, it is. And so, we do that with the eggs Benedict as well. We do an amazing eggs Benny on homemade sourdough with we do it with some beautiful lobster. We do it with our
Yeah.
truffle and some caviar. We went over the top with it because that's how people love it, and it's another 10. We sell it all day. Just got popular recently in the paper. So
I love it.
um yeah, so we do our best to try to really you know, get those dishes, either recreate them or,
yeah.
try to get as close as we can to making them. Like the baked Alaska is the original recipe. It was Heston Blumenthal actually came and helped us kind of recreate
Oh,
it. He
I
did a
love that.
special on it, but
Yeah,
we really went back to how it was originally made. So the flavor
that's
profile will be there.
I was thinking like, so I like to experiment with vegan dishes at home. I actually this morning I meal prepped some tofu tikka masala with like green beans, baby carrots, little
Mm.
broccoli, gosh, what else did I put in there? A little bit of onion and a little scallion. I was just kind of cleaning out the freezer, making a meal prep. And I was when you said that about kind of like changing the dish, like how complex vegan cooking actually is.
hmm,
Back in the day, I would have just bought a cube of tofu, right? And cut it up in chunks and kind of put this like watery, lifeless tofu into a jarred tikka masala sauce, like a simmer sauce, right? Well, this was almost a 3-day process. I froze the tofu. I squeezed all the water out. I tore it into chunks that looked more like chicken. We had a guest on a couple of probably 4 or 5 episodes back now. Carolyn Haler. She's a gluten-free cookie producer out of Manhattan. She runs Mighty Licious, and she does a cup for cup gluten-free flour substitute. And I tossed the tofu in there. It had the consistency of chicken. I air fried it until it was crispy. Then you know what I mean? But like, it was all these steps I had to add for something. I would just like slop it together and be like, look at me eating vegan. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, even with a culinary degree, like you don't learn, right? Like there's not a vegan culinary school that I'm aware of, right? Like you kind of have to understand, it takes the science from both sides, right? Though, like if I know how to treat a block of tofu to make it palatable for somebody who's never eaten it, right? And they can kind of get past that stigma. It takes all the skills I learned about cooking meat, right?
Experience and experimenting
kind of,
is the best. Yeah.
It's kind of this like harmony, this balance that you have to find. I had baked Alaska on a cruise for the first time when I think I was, 22 maybe. And it was life-changing. It wasn't even a quality one, but it's such a fun, iconic thing, right? So it's one of those, like,
we sell so many. It's popular. You know, that's where I think the cruise ships made it very, very popular.
Yeah. Well, Steve and I, at the beginning of the year, we had an episode where we examined the upcoming food trends of 2025 and all the think tanks and the kind of the committees and the people who investigate these types of things. They kind of provide this discourse for the public about what might be popular. They were predicting like a return to the restaurant decadence of the 80s and 90s. So like more caviar, more seafood towers, more luxurious and opulence, right? Like, and I loved seeing, like, I think you have an option to add caviar to hash browns, right? I was like, oh my God, that sounds incredible. I want to do that. You know, like, like, yes.
Sometimes it gets out of control.
Yeah.
But, you know, like you just said, the decadence, you know, people, you know, the trends, like you just had mentioned, you know, we love looking at trends. You know, that's why I got involved in a sourdough bread company that's extremely unique. I always feel that simple is safe, clean is amazing. You know, less ingredients is more for me.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's kind of the future of where we're headed as well. You know, like caviar is clean, it's simple, it's great. You know, it's
Well, Dennis, let me ask you this. You have a lot of experience from like restaurants and all sorts of ingredients, cuisines, sourdough things. Let me ask you, and I hope it's not a loaded question, but what is gastronomy to you? What does that mean to you? Because you've seen a lot and you've got a lot of experience.
You know, so in America, people eat to be fueled. It's the only place in the world where somebody can go to a bar and drink 3 glasses of white red wine on an empty stomach. In France, they would look at you and say, you're out of your mind, right?
Yeah.
So for me, you know, I am a little bit heavier. I love to eat and I do fuel myself with food. But when you do eat, I have to always say you have to be extremely present when you eat. It's like art. If you're looking at art, you eat like you're looking at art, right? Same type of way. So when I do go to a restaurant, I try to take my time, extremely patient to understand why this dish was prepared. And, you know, a restaurant like Borgo that just opened up, which is absolutely amazing. You know, you have few restaurants there where you know that chef is spot on. There's nothing taken away from that kitchen. No matter what they serve, it's a 10.
Yeah.
And I feel that with chefs. I really do. I know when they put something in front of me, I know when I eat something, and then it's everything else that comes around, right? And for me, gastronomy is being a part of that time, space, and energy, I would say, of what's going on where you are. You know, you're there, you clear your mind, and you eat, and you really enjoy yourself. You enjoy the wine, you enjoy.
Right.
You know, people these days like, you know, give me a glass of wine, whatever it is, this, that, back and forth. No, it's not like that. Enjoy yourself.
Well,
This
it
is
should
your
be
time to live a little, you know?
It
Live a
should
little,
be like
enjoy it.
by design, right? Like if I'm gonna have, you know, there's some beers that are only produced, or not only produced, like well, like a saison, for instance, right? They're specifically made to be enjoyed with food. They taste weird on their own. There's a lot
Right.
of intent and intentionality that goes into food and beverage pairings for a reason, right? And not for you to come in and be like, just give me whatever your house white is, no matter what I'm going to eat. Like, it should be a little bit of a journey. And you were talking about like taking the time to be present and enjoying your meal. That's a very European concept, right? Americans,
And
instant gratification. Go, 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 go. Feed me.
go
How
go
fast
and
can you? Yeah, how fast can you get this down my gullet? And what am I going to wash it down with? And I have to be on to the next thing. Whereas a
yeah.
meal in Europe is an event and it's entertainment, right? Like, I mean, I eat to be entertained, all my senses, and have this
Overall
experience. It's very
experience,
experiential, like,
You know,
that's kind of
we have I have a company in Croatia called Boogie Bakery, which is such a unique company. We produce all sourdough products, pastas, pizzas.
oh, I love it.
But we do
Wow.
have a technology where we are scaling the product to the masses. So we sell our bread to many, many restaurants across the US,
Is there any of
hotels,
it available
Michelin star
retail?
restaurants. We're working into the retail market.
Oh, I can't wait.
We only use flour, salt, and water. We
Hmm.
found the technology that where we can ferment on the fly, we say. And to me, when I eat that bread and I take my time, I have one slice, you're not bloated, you don't feel like crap
Sure.
when you after you eat it.
Yeah.
And that's the origin of bread. That is how bread should be made. When
People
I see
people were
bread that's
making
made with
it that way in covered wagons and feeding their family for years and years and years, hundreds of years, making it outside, completely dependent on God and luck, and made it happen without any benefit of science or any knowledge of why it happened. They just said, like, mom showed me how to make the bread this way. That's it.
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
yeah.
And we're I'm grateful enough to be a part of this company that has developed a technology where we can scale this, which we've been
Hmm.
scaling for some time now. And we will be launching a sourdough, fresh and dry sourdough pasta to the markets, which will be probably the only ones in the market that are doing it. I
I
don't see
Wow.
can't
anybody
wait.
coming close to
Oh my
producing any
God.
sourdough artisan
So
bread
exciting.
that's any good or that's anywhere close. So I'm proud with that, and that goes back to gastronomy. But that's
Mhm.
you have to eat good. Like I said, less is more for me when I eat something, and
Hmm.
technique and obviously I'm into I love clean products. People
Right.
don't understand how poisonous some food is out there, and
Hmm.
we really go out of our way to really serve something really unique at our restaurants and make sure that it's the best local ingredients that we can find.
I think it's important even for home cooks, right? Like, if you're just going to make a grilled cheese, like, make the best grilled cheese that you can. Find a really
Yeah,
good quality bread that
that's
you
it.
like. Find a
Hmm.
really nice cheese.
Correct.
Not gonna
That's
lie, I
exactly
like crap
it.
American cheese too. It melts
That's
really well
fine.
on a burger, but it's fine
Absolutely.
for your summer cookout. It's great, right? But
Yeah.
even if what you're making at home is like fairly simple and uncomplicated, like, buy the best things that you can. I mean, obviously that
Yeah.
are approachable for you from a price standpoint, but just even simple can be really great. But you can always find a way to elevate it, or just buy
Yeah.
products that you believe in. You know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely.
It's like I say,
yeah,
something that's going to put a smile on your face.
yep.
That's what it's all about.
Dennis,
Yep,
talk to us
that's
about
true.
Tucci. We haven't even touched on Tucci yet.
So yes, Tucci pays homage to Max Tucci, our brand partner at the restaurants, and
Mm,
pay homage to his family there. And we do an amazing Italian cuisine, mostly northern there, some influence of some southern cuisine as well. But it's some stuff that his family had original recipes that they brought on. The Tucci family had owned Delmonico's from I would say, mid 1920s till about the mid 80s,
mm,
late 80s. And they were just amazing restaurateurs. They were, you know, truly were the driving force behind what hospitality is today. Ciro
yeah,
Macchione had worked for them.
Mhm.
Tony May had worked for them. Like, everybody came out of that place. They really
yeah.
taught folks how to do
Wow.
proper hospitality, made them feel good, and they just did an amazing job. I'm really proud to be working with Max. And so, Tucci's is an amazing spot. Bleecker Broadway. Food there is a 10. I only say that because I eat there at least 2, 3 times a week, and we have a really steady, busy restaurant, so I know that's real. My favorite dish
It
there is
speaks
the
We need to do a
volumes.
food tour
Yeah.
over
it
there,
speaks volumes,
Melissa.
and simple, great dishes. We have a shrimp fra diavolo, which I would probably put up in the city up against any, little
Okay.
picante red sauce dish.
Yeah.
But I bring people there and I just like, yeah, you want to eat something? I just make them order the dish and I shut my mouth and I'm waiting for them to say, wow, this is amazing. So I like doing that to people because I'm like, I know, I got it. I know I got it.
Well,
So
for our
gr-
listeners, will you? I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
nope.
For our listeners, will you explain just some of the hallmark differences between northern and southern Italian cuisine? Maybe just if somebody doesn't know.
Yeah. So southern spicier,
Yep.
northern. So I'll just to pick a few, a meat sauce down in the south.
Yeah.
There's so many different types of meat sauce, but let's say you can have a lot more red, richer ingredients, a little bit spicier. You can put olives in. You can
Yeah.
really create something that's more Mediterranean south,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and in the north, you're maybe a tomato paste with some ground beef and a touch of cream, and you have bolognese. So
Yeah.
two different worlds,
I always like to tell people really simply, like the north is all your whites and reds stuffs,
Yes, correct.
right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then the
Mhm.
south is more where you're getting like those puttnaskas and you're getting
Correct.
things with
Yes.
like lemons and herbs and
Onions,
like yeah.
Yeah.
spices.
Mhm.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
both are amazing. So we do blend some dishes there. We don't stick to one region. But the food there is amazing. We do change up the menu there often, but some
Yeah.
really really amazing dishes
Wow.
that we've
I
carried
was
there and took
I
some
was looking
recipes.
at the menu earlier and I was like, oh my God, you have me at this like focaccia with the Vermont creamery and butter. I was like,
Yeah,
oh, I want to
that's our
do
that's
this.
our that's our focaccia there.
Yeah.
We have a beautiful casarecce pasta with some morel and spicy sausage,
Uh-huh.
which is
Yeah.
really a solid pasta dish.
Yeah.
And then we,
Love that.
we take our ribeye from Delmonico's. We do that with a nice sauce
It's
created
just,
there.
Mhm.
is
We
that
do
the one that comes with escarole, Dennis?
yeah, correct. Yes, that one.
Sorry. Yeah, yeah. Nice. Nice.
I know. Here I'm looking at the menu right
And
now, thinking, man, when are we planning our trip up there?
please, anytime, let me know. It's really, and you know what's great about Tucci is you have two different levels at Tucci. You have a beautiful small 40-seat restaurant with a tiny
Mhm.
bar at the top where our clientele is we have locals, we have celebrities, we have a mix of everybody, right? And then downstairs is our lower level is like this vibey, fun, and you would really, like people get to choose where they want because we don't
Yeah.
have many seats, but people are like, can I sit downstairs today? I was up last week with my parents and whatever,
Nice.
so our repeat customers really like to sit both up and down, and it's a really cool spot. Really cool spot.
Yeah, it looks like it. So, um, I'm looking at like the cocktail menu. Do you have one that you recommend?
Well, I
We
mean,
got to go
and
from
there,
food to drink
you know
too.
what? I, one of my favorite cocktails there, I would probably say would be we have our in-house Italian margarita, which is amazing. It's made with some. I mean, it's very unique and different. But when you go into an Italian restaurant, and you have that drink. It reminds me of the drink that I would have had at my dad's restaurant in some
Yeah.
way or another
Yeah.
that had that flavor profile. So it's got that amaretto in it, and
Yeah.
it's different, it's unique. So that's one of my favorites there.
I'm
And
a
they're all
I'm
really
a,
so our team is really
a
our
big
cocktail team is really
fan
amazing.
of the classic Negroni. It's just a bitter Italian punch in the face, man.
Yeah,
Yeah. And 3 shots in
yeah,
it, so you don't need very many, Like,
yeah. It's we make some amazing Negronis, and they become very popular lately with mixing tequilas into as spirits to all these bases for these cocktails, which
yeah,
are creating a big hit. Isn't it
tequila
amazing how
and
tequila has
like
taken over the world?
well, and
Yeah.
mezcal too. I mean, there's really a
Yeah,
movement where you're kind of just subbing it in and out of different drinks where it wouldn't normally be. And I had to laugh because when you said that, I was like, what in the heck is an Italian margarita? you know, I
Ye-
I'm originally from Dallas, Texas, where there's margaritas and beer on the table all the time.
yeah,
But I'm a huge amaretto fan too. Seemingly, when I turned
Mhm.
21, the only thing I knew how to order was amaretto sours, and I had very fond and
yeah,
also not so fond memories of drinking a crack
yeah.
load of amaretto.
You
So
You know what we try to do is we try to take some, when we plan on creating our menus and when we do some of our cocktails and dishes, we always try to say, I have this first imprint, reptilian imprint in your mind between the ages of like, let's say 2 and 5 years old. What were you eating? What was going on? That's
Yeah.
why
Yeah.
things become very popular. It's like, oh, the next trend. Why? Because there is a phase of folks that are moving into what they used to eat. This was very popular, so people will go back to that at an age when they can afford it.
It's all cyclical. Like hey, I found I loved these flare jeans were popular when I was 15, and now bell bottoms are coming back, and it's all these kind of like
Yep.
seasonal
Yeah,
cyclical circles. And when you said what were you eating between 2 and 5, like I immediately my brain was like pot roast. And
yeah,
then the grown up version of that is like beef cheeks, right? Like,
yeah,
Yeah.
okay, like
absolutely.
now I have grown people money, you know?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
so yeah, yeah, I
So,
love that.
a lot of that, a lot we really do, like I'm just gonna give you an example. People would laugh at me, but I would say about 2 years ago, my business partner Joe Cool, I called him up and I said, you know what, Cosmopolitan. Like, where did it go? And he's like, come on,
Yeah,
Dennis, that's like such an
that's
old
like
drink.
when Sex and the
It like
City went
tastes
off the
Right.
air, I think,
terrible. It's like a catering hall. I remember, you're like, I need a Cosmo. Where are you from? You're from the
Ugh,
suburbs outside, like
ugh.
and now everywhere I go, I see a Cosmo, made so many different kinds of ways. So
Yeah.
the things will always come back. That's why Delmonico's with history is you're always evolving, and
when
always
you
coming back to history and being yourself. And
when you say Cosmo to me, and then we put it in this realm of Italian, right? The first place my brain goes is Aperol syrup, blood orange base, right? Like, you know,
yeah,
or and like
and you
burnt
think,
rosemary sprig or some such, you know, like
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
and doesn't mean that it has to be that, because a lot of us had the bad Cosmo at one point in our life.
I've had so many bad
Yep.
Cosmos.
Yeah, exactly. Because like you go to that place where it's like, pa 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 pa. As soon as I
Like
see somebody
basic
that's
white
like
girls are
throwing
just
bottles
like you
around,
had a punch card for drinking Cosmos. Like,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. So, but now, yes, the chefs behind the bar really do an
Hmm.
amazing job on creating
Hmm.
some really amazing cocktails, and I really do enjoy some of these new Cosmos that are out. I had one that was like sprayed down with perfumes, which I thought was amazing. It was at, I believe, Double Chicken, please, or one of these restaurants. Oh, no, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, with a
Yeah.
sipping
Yeah.
guzzle actually, and it was really, really yummy.
Oh man.
Um,
Sounds incredible.
so, you know,
I like it.
Well, initially when we had been contacted to set this up, and all the emails back and forth, I think I referred to you as Chef Dennis at one point, and was very quick to come back and say like he's a restaurateur, he's certainly a culinary pro, but he's not a chef. And I was like, well, everybody in my world's a chef, right? We're
Right.
calling everybody chef all day long,
everybody
and
should,
I kind of
yeah,
like shot back and I was like, hey, sorry, like in my world, everybody's a chef. And even if culinary professional, like I have to say, like you'd have to be a chef in your own right? Because to have the understanding of food, it's not just the guy schlepping out on the line. Like you and I and Steven know those are line cooks. You know what I mean? There's just a little bit of a difference. You've got to have some like business acumen. But when the
absolutely.
day is done, are you cooking at the house? You cook at
Yeah,
home?
I do. My mom and dad are really amazing chefs, and
Mm,
they put out some serious spreads, and they're always hard on themselves, which is, tells you it's like when it's not perfect, they'll tell you right away.
mm,
And what does perfect mean? It means that everybody's gonna like it, right? And
yeah.
when
Yeah.
they cook together, they always look at each other like my dad would say to my mom, like, missing something is missing, or whatever, like they have those, because they're not cooking every single day. My mother sings for and helps out with housewife, and does some charitable work, and my dad's still in the
Yeah.
restaurant business, but he's more front of house. And so, I learned from them, and so when I cook for my friends or for my girlfriend or for my families, everybody's like, wow, that was amazing. And I'm like, no, I'm not a trained professional chef. I don't have that much experience,
Right.
but I'm in the kitchen. I talk to my chef. We talk about food all the time.
Of course.
I'm watching them while they're preparing. I'm in their ear. They're in my ear. My chef Eddie or my sous chefs will call me and say, "Hey, I got a great idea, Dennis. What do you think about a chef? I think it's a great idea. Let's try it." Like and there's nobody gets offended if we don't like it or if it's off or if it needs tweaking or if we really want to make it exciting. It's just it's teamwork for every dish that evolves in our restaurant. And
I
so
love
back to
that
me
that kind of
cooking, I like to
collaboration,
cook.
Yeah.
You know what I like to do? I actually like to I love to, like champagne and blue cheese, like I don't know, like
Mhm.
Yeah.
things or like ingredients that are unique and different, and I'm trying to understand them, and then I get them and I'm like, wow, this is amazing. And I try to introduce that to people and say, try this, put this together, put this in your mouth, take a sip of this and try a little bit of this. And they're like, oh my God, what was that? That was amazing. I was like, oh, that's so good,
Yeah.
and
Love
and
it.
that's that umami, that's that like that
Yeah.
fun. So I like
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. But when
Oh,
cooking, like making sauces, like our chef that's roasting bones for 3 days, and no,
yep.
it's not me. but but I
I
respect
bet
every
if,
person that
hey,
works in my
listen,
kitchen.
God forbid, but I bet if anything happened, you could jump right in there. You've got enough awareness, right? Like you could steer that boat
I've
for
been
just a
in
little bit. Yeah.
I've been in that position. I've been in that position.
Yeah.
Yes,
I think we all have at one time or the other. We know somebody that has, or somebody's jumped in there for us.
absolutely.
So what would be your last meal if you found yourself in that situation? What do you think?
That's a good
Delmonico
question.
steak,
Yeah.
the
All right.
spineless portion of it. I would
Yep.
say not super hot. I would say cooked to about medium rare, but it's been sitting out for about a good 40 minutes.
That cold.
And then a nice
Okay.
piece of sourdough
Yeah.
and a nice glass of red wine. Nothing else.
All right. All
Wow.
right. I love it. I
Try
love
it. It's good. I'm dying every day for that dish.
it.
You're
So yeah.
gonna think twice next time you eat it. Wait a minute.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. I love it so much. Dennis, tell us how Boogie Lab USA, you referred to it a couple times, but tell us how it started and what was the idea there? Or did you just have the idea one day? You're like, we're gonna do bread. Like how did that happen?
So Carlo Vulin and Mladen, his partner, there are two partners in Croatia that Mladen was Vidikovic is a hospitality guy for front of house, opened many restaurants, is
Mm-hmm.
absolutely the most amazing restaurateur in Europe. And his
Yeah.
business partner, Carlo, which they're my
Mhm.
partners now, was an amazing, well-known master artisan baker. He's an artist when it comes to making bread. And Carlo had his own bread company where he delivered fresh artisan bread to restaurants and to wholesale markets in Europe. And Mladen was in restaurants, so they got together. They created this brand called Boogie Bakery. Within a
Nice.
year that they opened, Boogie Bakery is actually an amazing concept where you have breakfast, brunch, lunch, dinner, cocktails throughout the whole day, and the place evolves with music and lights, and it's like it's a place where you get to experience good food, fun. It's something very different. That when we open our first space here in the States, which is going to be within the next year or so, it'll be a home run here. And so when they opened their restaurant, I heard about these guys. I called Carlo, said, Carlo, can you come and make some sourdough bread for me or teach a baker how to make? I want to produce fresh sourdough bread every single day. Brought in a
Hey,
baker from
hey,
Europe.
Dennis, I want to
Yeah.
hear all of this story and give you all my attention, but somebody is beating my door down. Let me go make sure that is okay for
Yeah, yeah.
just a
Of
second. All right.
course. Of course. Of
Yeah.
course.
So Dennis, let me ask you this: what's your guilty pleasure meal? Do you have one where you're like everyone dogs on it, and you're like, oh, this is the best?
The unhealthy one that when I'm stressed, I just shove down my throat.
Yeah, tell me. I want to know.
I'm a sucker for like Nutella, pizza. It's like
Yeah,
I hate myself for it. Got some good ice cream. I need a gelato in the city. Uh,
yeah,
I it's I don't know what it is. I love sweet, savory, mixing them together. Super sweet, super savory.
yeah.
I hate myself for it.
No,
It's kind of
I love
like I'm like a maniac when it comes
that.
to something that's like overly sweet. That's why like it's really interesting when we made the baked Alaska
Uh-huh.
years ago before it was recreated. It was an amazing. It was a little bit different. it was definitely much sweeter. Um, but not for like crowds that would come to the restaurant because it was too much at the end. But for some people that that had that real sweet tooth, I used to say, if we're gonna serve desserts, make them sweet. Now I know you make them light, you make them, you make them want to have
Yeah.
people eat it rather. But I'm a sucker for that. I have a sweet tooth, a serious, serious problem with a sweet tooth, an addict to
Me too.
sugar.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Same here. Uh,
yeah.
yeah, I think one of the ones for me is just some good seafood pasta, things like that. Even like I'll make the sauces 9 out of 10 times, but every now and then, if I'm real stressed out, I'll just do like a canned sauce. I'm like, what am I doing? But this tastes so good, you know?
All
So
right,
Oh
sorry
yeah,
about that, guys.
that's
I was
okay.
gonna have them keep talking, but then we started talking about guilty pleasure foods and
No,
stuff like
I
that,
just
you
wanted to
know?
give you like all of my attention. All right, so
No, no
please
worries.
pick up where you left off.
Yeah, Carlo Vulin is this an amazing artisan baker, and we brought a baking team with us, and we started producing fresh sourdough bread. And he says to me, he's like, Dennis, listen, I'm out of the fresh bread business, and I want to go to the retail and food service space, to the masses, and make a scalable artisan sourdough bread making using flour, salt, water. I said that's
Mhm.
impossible because you're never gonna make money, because there's no technology behind it. It's extremely complex. He's like, no, but I have the technology behind it. And that's how it all kind of started. And, I became an investor and a partner in the business, and we started working together. And so it is a fully baked artisan bread made with just flour, salt, water that you take out, you thaw it out, and within 4 or 5 minutes, you throw it in the oven at 450, and you literally have fresh, I mean, I would say fresh sourdough bread. I use the word fresh, like it came
Yeah.
out of a bakery. You wouldn't know. The technology really, the standards are there for keeping it absolutely an amazing product. So we sell
It's
to
awesome.
we sell to everybody. We actually can't keep stock of the product here in the States. We bring about 5, 6 container loads of bread into the city, and we'll be launching our bread on an airline starting April 1st with one of
Nice.
the largest airlines in the United States. It'll be out in the market. I have an NDA under that I can't mention, but
Yeah,
we'll be
that's
launching
that's
on
that's so
April 1st.
amazing. Like,
That's
wow,
cool.
you want to talk about hype?
And we'll be producing millions of rolls of sourdough rolls, using flour, salt, water. And we were chosen out of a bunch of companies, on an RFP, and grateful for that as well. So we know the product is good. We know it's out there. So, and today, in today's market, you know, you want sourdough bread, you either have to get it delivered or you have to make it yourself. Making it yourself is extremely expensive. That bread, when you make it yourself, costs you $10 to $15 per loaf
Well,
or a bowl,
and your
right?
time is worth money.
Because of the hands,
Your time
it's
is
in
worth
and out,
money,
it's
and
in and out, time,
it's
time.
the stretch and folds, the feeding the starter, the everything else. And I mean,
Yeah,
there are some easier ways. Like you can refrigerate the starter and kind of hibernate it, and there are like easier recipes, and there's really difficult ones. And then there's like no need recipes and stuff, right? But
correct,
I think it's insane. To me, my time is worth more, than I'm willing to buy
correct.
something that's already made. So
Correct. And in a market where restaurants are looking to cut costs and to have the best possible product, we've been very lucky to, produce a product where I mean, if you get it delivered, you're paying a lot more for it, and also it's not going to stay fresh. You can control this product more often. So I'm really excited behind this. Our bakeries will be baking fresh every single day, and our wholesale product is blast frozen and sold frozen out to the market.
I can't wait to start buying it.
We need to figure out how to get it in
Yeah,
Texas.
I'll be sending you guys some
That's
samples.
Oh,
yes.
incredible. Yes. I can't wait.
Yeah,
I'm so excited. I've been my
yeah,
poor self. I've been buying this stupid keto bread for like 3 months, and I just, I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, you know what? We're just gonna do the carbs, and I'll do it for a product I believe in. You know what I mean? Like if it's a really, really good quality, I
Yeah.
will
well,
let myself not
well,
suffer for a sandwich,
of course. Well, in so when I look at sourdough and I look at what sourdough is on the market, whether it's fresh, I don't really see any really frozen sourdough on the market. But when I see fresh sourdough, or when they say it's sourdough in a
Yeah.
bag and it's
Mhm.
tied up,
Yep.
unless it's fresh, would say 99.9% of all this bread has more than like 10 to 15 ingredients in it, including yeast. And for me personally, gets me really what makes me excited about our company is we only use those three ingredients. And when you look, we're type 1 sourdough. The type 2 and
Yeah.
type 3 are just flooding the market where people just grab sourdough because they think it's real
Right.
sourdough.
Well,
And
you
Yeah.
for
can also
me,
simulate that flavor with citric acid. Like it,
exactly. Yeah.
you're putting all the relaxers in it, all the fake leaveners. You're not really using the power of the starter. And the longer you let a starter sit, this because out of San Francisco, right? Like they have these starters that are like 100 years old and they're
Yeah.
keeping them going. That's where that tang comes from. And you can try
Correct.
to make it artificial, but it's really awful. It's really awful.
Yeah. And what happens is in that, we get to really see that there's a place for us in the market where people really want to eat real pure sourdough. And when I eat it, because I have gluten intolerance and I eat boogie bread, um, I feel amazing. I can eat 3, 4 slices of bread, and I have no heartburn. My stomach is not uptight.
Yeah.
I'll buy a sourdough bread that has a few ingredients. I'll bring it at home, or my girlfriend will bring it home. Just test. I'm sick after a few hours because of that intolerance. So I think we're going to do really well in this market with what products that we have coming out,
That's excellent.
That is
especially
so
when we go to
exciting.
retail. Yeah.
That's incredible. Well, hey, Dennis, it has been amazing talking to you today. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I can't wait to get my hands on those samples. I'm going to turn you on to these gluten-free cookies that we got to try. They're incredible. So the brownie mix is
Melissa,
really
thank you
awesome
so
too.
much.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for
Steve,
being so
thank you.
generous with your time. And
Oh,
yeah, so we'll sign off here, but go ahead and hang out and we'll chat in just a moment.
yeah.
Thank you
you
so
for
much,
having
everybody
me.
out there for I can't wait to see like the continuing journey of both of the restaurants and the bread making part of this. And I think you're an incredible guy and you've really got your finger on the pulse of what true hospitality means. So I'm just excited that our paths crossed, today. And I hope we'll talk to you again in the future. For everybody out
Thank you
there
so
who's
much.
listening and watching, thank you so much for supporting the show. And we're out of here, guys. Until next time. That's a wrap for today. Until the next episode of the Food for Thoughtcast, make good food, eat good food, share it, and be kind to one another.
Thanks so much for listening today. You are part of what makes us special, and we are so glad you joined us. Don't forget to rate, subscribe, and leave a review. Just like food, delicious podcasts are better when you share them with others. Come back for seconds wherever podcasts are served, and we'll catch you in the next episode of the Food for Thoughtcast.
You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at the Food for Thoughtcast or at www.foodforthoughtcast.com, where you can link to all podcast players, or you can send us an email at foodforthoughtcmc@gmail.com.